Hi guys, welcome to yet another episode of Just Living Life with Nobu and BK. Are we Nobu and BK or BK and Nobu?
BK and Nobu, of course.
Welcome to yet another episode of Just Living Life with BK and Nobu. Today our topic is...
Apologizing is strength. It's very easy in a relationship to never apologize. It's very easy to just kind of wing it whenever bad things happen or whenever you wrong each other and just go with the flow. Maybe sometimes you fight and you go quiet on each other, you go your own way and you come back after a while and things are just okay. You've just gotten back on track with each other. No one apologized about anything. You just kind of winged it. Things can go ahead like that and you can kind of think that you've got it covered even if you don't apologize. But the truth is, if you never apologize, you're accumulating a lot of bad feelings. You're accumulating a lot of wrong in the relationship that will come back to bite you guys later on. It's very important to know that whenever something has been done wrong, whenever you've wronged somebody else, apologize. I know it's a particularly big thing with guys and it's hard for them to bring themselves to apologize, but it's really important.
And I think sometimes the misconception is that apologizing is showing that you're weak and you couldn't stand your ground. And so whatever it is that you did or said wrong falls away. So most people don't apologize because they want to stand their ground and they want to show that they were right. Most people feel saying I'm sorry is like admitting defeat. And I think that's why, especially for guys, it's an issue because it's an ego issue to say, how do I admit that in this round I lost in court?
Sometimes you can even see that you were actually wrong, but then bringing yourself to accept it to the other person that you were wrong. Because I guess it's an issue of pride to not want to accept that. You can accept it to yourself, but not to display it to the other person that I was actually wrong and I see that I'm wrong.
That's true. And maybe I think another factor that contributes also is the way the people around us kind of taught us to apologize or not to. It's possible that when you were growing up, you would never see the adults in your life apologize to each other. You would tell that, okay, mom and dad are not okay. Next thing, they're talking to each other. Of course, it's possible that they used to apologize maybe, in private or whatever. But I think sometimes you would never hear them say, I'm sorry, or or in all your life now you're a full-grown adult and you don't know what your father sounds like when they say they're sorry, or your mother just bangs the pots until she's fine and then you move on. So and then because of that you also adopt that style that we don't need to say well sorry. I mean, it's gonna sort itself out eventually.
Or maybe the apology as a child is just a forced I'm sorry, where you're just saying it in order to just let the issue go. Let's just let it go. I'm sorry, okay? Let's move on. But we need to learn to apologize in a genuine way. We need to learn to apologize from a knowledge of that we did wrong and it needs to be corrected. We need to acknowledge to the other person that we understand, we can see that some wrong was done and something needs to be done to make things right.
Another toxic, in quotes, way of apologizing. You know how there will be this couple and maybe they are well up in their reach. So when they have an argument, the husband or the wife won't apologize. Next thing they do is just give you money, or buy a gift. And that's supposed to be an apology. I think it's toxic, really, throwing gifts and money at a problem. It's okay if after apologizing, maybe it's a way of making it up to the person. But if you're going to have an argument and then the next thing is money should make you feel better, there's a problem with that.
So Gary Chapman did a study with one of his colleagues where after analyzing a lot of couples and the way they relate and everything, he came up with a concept that he calls the 5 apology languages. This is basically different ways that different people give and accept apologies. Because it's possible for you to always be giving an apology to your partner, but because your partner understands apologizing as having to be made in a different way, they think you never apologize, but you think you always apologize.
Yeah.
And so you guys are always at loggerheads. But the only difference is that the two of you understand apology in different ways. Mm-hmm. So it's important to understand that there are different ways that people give and accept apology. It's important to learn your partner's apology language and they learn yours too.
True. In you learning your partner's apology language, I think a partner should also be willing to say, I know this is not the way I accept apology, but I know this is the way you apologize. So it's like a compromise to say, okay, my way of accepting apology is that you say I'm sorry, then you buy me flowers. But I realize that to you, I'm sorry is enough. So I think it takes maturity also to say, okay, he didn't then buy me flowers, but I know that because his apology is saying I'm sorry, he did apologize, even if it's not in the way that I would have preferred it to be. I think that takes some level of...
But I think differently. I think instead of learning to just let go of your apology, I don't think it's a difficult thing to learn your partner's apology language and apologize in the way that they understand apology to be. So if to them, I'm sorry is not enough, it don't hurt you, it don't kill you to say, I'm sorry, I understand I did wrong, what can I do to make it up to you? It's just a little extra that you're putting to your apology to make things work better for the two of you. It's not a big sacrifice.
Of course, I'm not saying that you then say, I'm sorry to me as an apology. I mean, it's not natural. Like you said, you have to put in the effort. So it can happen that in the heat of the moment or at this particular time, because there's a lot going on, I didn't consciously process my apology in the way that you would have wanted it to go. And I'm saying, so it's okay not to say I'm letting go totally of my apology language, but to say, okay, for this one, I know he apologized, even though it's not in the way that I wanted. Of course, he should always put an effort to apologize in the way that I would accept. But there might be an instance where, I don't know, because of one factor or another, he just said, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know. But anyway, let's go on to the apology languages according to Gary Chapman.
Okay, so number one is expressing regret. So this is an emotional apology. It says, I feel bad about what happened and I realize that it made you feel bad also. So what that person would say would be, for example, I'm sorry I didn't do what you asked me to do. I know how important it was for me to do it and I'm sorry I've let you down. So you see, this one is infused with emotion to say, I understand how it must have made you feel and that I also feel bad that I made you feel the way I made you feel. Yeah.
The second one is accepting responsibility. So an example is saying, I was wrong not to tell you I wouldn't be able to make it in time for dinner. Now, this is acknowledging that you did wrong and not pointing a finger. Because it's so easy sometimes that when we did wrong, we try and find ways that the other person's behavior influenced my own behavior. So I was late because you didn't call me on time, or I was late because of that. But it's important for us to learn that infused within our apology, there has to be an acknowledgement of responsibility for wrongdoing.
That's true. Then number 3 is making restitution. So here it's about making things right, saying, okay, I acknowledge that in this instance I failed you. And I know that I cannot turn back the hands of time and redo this. But if there's a way that I can make it up to you or make you feel better about this, which is obviously not what you would have wanted in the first place because the time is gone. But is there a way that I can make it up to you? So one would say, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the game. I know how important it was to you and that there won't be another one like it. But I'd like to know if I can make it up to you. Please let me know what I can do.
Okay, the number 4 is genuinely expressing the desire to change behavior. So an example here could be, I struggle with keeping time and I realize that I always make you wait for me. I'm sorry, I'm working on it. I'll try to wake up earlier and hopefully that will help. So the idea here is you seek to come up with a plan to avoid reoccurrence and another apology being needed. So you're genuinely expressing the desire to change whatever behavior led to the thing that offended your partner.
And then the last one is requesting forgiveness. Sometimes we say, I'm sorry, or can I make it up to you? But for someone else, it's not complete if you don't actually say, please forgive me. So the questions that they're asking themselves are, do you realize what you've done? Do you want to be forgiven? Do you want to change and make sure this doesn't happen again? So someone who wants that forgiveness aspect would want you to say, I'm sorry that I didn't make it. I know I let you down. Will you please forgive me? So it seems like something tiny, but to someone whose apology language is requesting forgiveness, it's a big thing to say, I actually want your forgiveness. Because some people apologize, to let it pass, then we can move on. Mm-hmm. But when you say, please forgive me, it says, it matters to me that you let go of it in your heart so that we can be okay. And I think that's very important.
So just to put it all together, I think it's also important to understand that these are 5 languages, but a person can speak more than one apology language or understand more than one apology language. So to somebody else, an apology could be accepting responsibility for what you did wrong and asking for forgiveness, and also expressing a genuine desire to say that you're going to change the behavior. And I think as much as possible, we should just try and make it a goal to learn all of the different apology languages, because I think there's value in each of them. In accepting that you did wrong, there's value in expressing a genuine desire to change the behavior. There's value in wanting to make restitution for it and genuinely asking for somebody's forgiveness. So it's important to notice that it's not just one apology language that you need to learn, but combining them can make the apology be more genuine.
You know, when I was reading this chapter in preparation for today's show, I was actually smiling because most of the things that they wrote about, I've learned from BK. So he's the type who say, it's not enough to say, I'm sorry. So I was actually laughing when I was reading that. This sounds a lot like him. So he is the one who say, I'm sorry that I did this and this and that. Will you please forgive me? And I've always been the one who says, I'm sorry. And I feel like, it's enough. But then he'll be like, you're sorry for what? And then for me, then going to say, I'm sorry I did this, it feels like, a part of me is being ripped away. It feels like I'm admitting defeat, So it's not easy, but I've gotten better with time. And it does help solve conflict faster. You might not realize how easy it is for someone to then let go. If you acknowledge the way that they would love to be apologized to, they are more willing to forgive you. So yeah, it's very important to learn how to apologize, not just to apologize so that there has been an apology that has been thrown out, but to say, has this apology reached the person that it's supposed to reach, and has it reached them in an acceptable manner?
Yeah. And the way I understand it is the reason why I personally put a lot of importance in saying what exactly you're sorry for is just a communication thing, because it's so easy for us to have a misunderstanding, and she's seeing things one way, I'm seeing things one way. And when she's saying I'm sorry, she's apologizing for something else, and I think she's apologizing for the one thing that is bothering me. So I feel like when somebody says I am sorry for A, B, C, and D, we understand exactly what the person is sorry for. And if they say, please forgive me, or I was wrong to do that, it just feels like a full apology to me, and an apology where everyone understands what went wrong and what needs to be done.
I hear you.
Anyway, guys, that's been it. Thank you for listening.
Guys, for listening in again. Please continue to do that. Continue to support us. Thank you so much. Keep sharing and supporting us. And then this week we should be releasing our first video on YouTube, which is not a hangout with the Patreons or
it's
one
already
way.
There, actually.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
So please listen to it. It's just a get to know us, We feel like it's time for you guys to get to know the people behind the voices. So there's a couples quiz thing going on. Please do tune in. Like, subscribe, comment, review. Those on Anchor, leave us a voice note. On Facebook, please just comment and interact with us. Share YouTube and subscribe and just do the most. Help us to grow.